The Honest Garage Podcast, where real shop owners tell real shop stories.
Today on the Honest Garage Podcast, we're doing something a little different. Instead of talking to the people whose names are on the sign, we're talking to the people who make sure the doors open, the work flows, and the owners can actually step back. Our guests today are Jeff Owen and Melissa Velasquez from Jeremy's Garage in Pueblo West, Colorado, a family-owned, NAPA Gold certified, and AAA approved auto repair shop that's been serving the community since 2008. Jeremy's Garage is known locally for honest, efficient service on foreign and domestic vehicles. Everything from brakes and suspension to engine repair, wheel alignments, and maintenance. And they've built a strong reputation with hundreds of reviews and a loyal customer base. Jeff is the manager, and he's been with the shop for over 12 years after spending about 25 years managing tire shops before that. He oversees day-to-day operations, service riders, tech workflow, quality control, and the processes that keep the place from going sideways when it gets busy. Melissa is the business manager. She's been with Jeremy's Garage for 9 years, and she's the one handling HR, payroll, accounting, and their apprentice programs, as well as much of the marketing coordination and the community outreach. What makes this episode unique is that owners Jeremy and Cindy are not heavily involved in the day-to-day anymore. Over the past 9 years, Jeff and Melissa have built out SOPs and systems, tracking every repair order and set of keys, implementing quality control inspections after repairs, and rolling out digital inspections that let the shop run smoothly even when the owners aren't in the building. On top of that, they've launched and sustained a program called Changing for the Cure, offering free oil changes for cancer patients and caregivers in partnership with NAPA, Petro, and the Becky Baker Foundation. In this episode, we're going to talk about what it actually looks like to run a shop on behalf of an owner, where the decision lines are, how you build trust both up and down the org chart, and how you keep systems, apprentices, and community programs going when the people signing the checks aren't there every day. Jeff, Melissa, welcome to the Honest Garage Podcast. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Great.
Good. Really happy to have you on the show. Appreciate you taking the time.
Fun to be here.
Great. So we're going to start off with a question we start out with pretty regularly on the show here, which is, what's the one car that you dream about driving? What's the one that got you hooked on this industry?
I'm more of a truck guy, so I like diesel trucks.
Yeah, diesel trucks?
Yeah, big power.
There you go. And Melissa?
I'm not much of a car girl. My focus has always not been to have anything that's any more than just a to and fro. So unfortunately, that's a hard question for me for being in the shop. I'm not much of a car girl, although I do the older cars more than the newer cars. I have to say that for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And for me, it's the 1967 C10 Chevy that I built with my dad. So I'm with you. I'm more of a truck guy. So
yeah.
Cars are fun.
Car.
Yeah, cars are fun, but there's something special about rebuilding a pickup truck sometimes. Cool. Unlike a lot of our guests, you guys aren't the owners. So it's really great to have you on because I know that you're the people behind the scenes keeping Jeremy's Garage running day to day while the owners are able to deal with everything that they have going on in their lives too. How did you each end up here? What did the evolution look like? And how did you go from, I'm just taking a job at a shop locally, to I'm one of the people that this place depends on? What was that like?
So I actually, from the tire business, Jeremy bought a lot of tires from me, and he actually was doing a custom Corvette job, and the customer had to have Foose wheels. So to do that, I had to actually come out to the shop, do all the measurements so I could have those custom made to fit that vehicle. And then one day we stumbled across each other, and I was looking, and he said, I'm looking for somebody to help me run my shop. And so we worked out a deal, and I came on. And then me and him worked very closely together for a lot of years on just building up the clientele and the business. And then it got to a point where we implemented enough service writers to where I could step into his position and just oversee everything, which allowed him to be able to step out.
Yeah. And was that the intention from the beginning, Jeff, for you to be able to run the shop and for Jeremy to step back?
I don't think it really was. I think that's just the direction that things went. We got to a certain point and we flatlined, and we were like, hey, what do we need to do? What's it going to take to get to that next level of service? And we went through a program, and that we implemented the stuff that we learned from that. And it really took off from there, and then actually allowed him to just step out, and I done a good job. So there was his confidence in me was, you can run the show.
That's great. I know from a lot of shop owners, they have a hard time either, or sometimes both, stepping out of the day-to-day work in the shop or out of the day-to-day management of the business. Melissa, tell me what that was like from your perspective, where you came in.
I came in, I've come and gone a couple times for them. I came in actually as a family friend to begin with. I worked with his mom and his grandfather. In fact, my kids babysit Jeremy's and Cindy's kids. So that's how far back our friendship goes. And they were just looking for someone to come in and take over the accounting, someone they could trust. And that was my background. And I was doing it kind of part-time to start off with. And then I wanted to move into something a little bit more full-time. So that's when I left and worked for a school. And then I hadn't even actually thought about coming back to Jeremy's garage, but they came out to my house to fix an RV, actually, which we don't do. But he came because he's my friend and he wanted to help me. And so I was standing out there talking to him while they were looking at it. And I said, I'm going to be looking for a new job coming up in the end of the school season. And he said, gosh, I'd love to have you back, Melissa. And I said, I'd love to come back and work for you. And that was the end of the story. It's really been a family friendship that's really brought me here to the shop prior to just looking for a job. It was much more always for me than just a job here. It was, these were my friends and I wanted to take what they needed me to do and the entrust that they gave to me as a friend to do the job.
That's great. And so tell me a little bit about how your responsibility changed over that time from I'm a friend who's helping out with accounting to now I'm making decisions that impact the business on a day-to-day basis.
I guess the biggest change was when the other people who were helping him decided they didn't want to be working anymore. His mom really wanted out, I think, sooner than she could get out. But it's always been a real family-oriented business, so that's who they had working for them first. After Cindy came in when they first opened, and she helped out. She's got a huge financial background. She's a chief financial officer. That's where her training was from when they brought the business here from California. So she really started the business and did all of this. And then Becky took over. That's Jeremy's mom. And so when Becky was like, I'm done, I just don't really want to do this anymore. That's when I came along and said, okay, this is something maybe I should maybe put a few more hours into doing for them. And that kind of grew. And now I'm doing it full time for them.
Yeah. And I know Jeremy and Cindy aren't in the building every day anymore, that they've stepped back, and you guys have really stepped forward and made sure that the shop still keeps running smoothly. How have you guys structured that relationship so that you can handle the day-to-day decisions without impacting the overall vision that the owners would have for the business? Tell me about how you find that balance.
I think that I've worked with Jeremy long enough that I know what he wants, and we have that same vision. We came together, and that's where we decided this is the direction we wanted to go, and we were both heading in the same direction. So there was, on his slow exit out, there was a lot of micromanaging, which is good. But as I made decisions, he'd just say, hey, this is what I would do, or I would have done. And I said, okay, I've been running businesses long enough that it's really been a smooth transition. We haven't had to involve them in any business decisions on my side for several months.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And how long would you say that transition's been going on? Has it been something that slowly happened over several years, or is it something that's happened over a few months?
Several years.
Yeah. It really started around 2022. And then it's just progressed as those years have come through and gone through. And then before then, mind you, Jeremy was here all the time. He was very much helping us through all those things. And I think that's part of what I look at is the years prior to when he started needing to pull away from the shop. I think that I always, this is kind of cliche, you put a lot into the trust bank, right? So all those years prior to that, I think we really deposited a lot of that trust for him into the trust bank, just him watching how we were doing things, and slowly, surely, but surely he was giving us more and more things to do. And I think that the deposits we made then paid off well for him in the end, because he feels like he can really trust that we're all on the same page. And we talk often over the phone and whatnot. He just isn't able to be here for the day-to-day stuff, which is what I feel like is a blessing for them right now, because that's what they really need right now. That also is a big thing for me in my day, is what can I do today that I don't have to make a phone call to them to make them have to stop what they're doing right now and focus on here, because that's really not where their focus needs to be. So it's been an interesting pull and tug on that, just knowing where in my own mind or in Jeff's mind where we really have that space. But I think that just knowing them as well as we know them, that has been a smoother transition, I think, than in some respects, because there's longevity. We've had a lot of time in with them. And so they're comfortable with allowing us to have a little bit more leeway than maybe they could in other situations. So,
yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. And I'm really curious what advice both of you would have for shop owners. I know we have a lot of shop owners listening to the show who are trying to figure out how they find a Melissa and a Jeff to take things over so they can step back. What advice would you have for shop owners when either looking for or growing people into the position where they could step in and take over?
Yeah, you just got to find somebody that wants to put the time in, work hard, and wants to grow. The best part about here, all our team, people walk in the door and they're laughing, their customers are having a good time. We make it somewhere that people want to come. There's so many places that you go that you walk in and you can tell the person behind the counter doesn't even want to be at work. That's not the person you want running your business. And it's hard to find people like that. But you got to find that person that's willing to put in the time, the hard work, and the drive to just keep wanting to do better. Jeremy really has never set goals for me. I always set my own goals. So I'm very goal oriented. And that's what you got to have. You got to have the drive and want to do it.
Yeah.
I think too, it's really important from the shop owner's side that the atmosphere is created to be a family business type atmosphere. Even if you're big, you can still have that atmosphere where you know a lot about your employees, and your employees are allowed to know a lot about you, because then that builds a true relationship. Everybody's going to have those moments where things don't go right, or there's something that irks the other person or not. And when you don't have some sort of something behind just coming every day to work and clocking in and clocking out, that's when, the shop falls apart. Because I can take a bad day with somebody because they've been around me for so long and we have a relationship. We ask about our families. They know about our families. If there's something going on in our lives, I have many stories where this shop has come behind me just in a serious situation where I needed to be rescued. And these guys just showed up. They just rescued me. It's just, they didn't have to. They didn't need to. It wasn't part of their job. It was just part of the fact that Jeremy and Cindy have built this entire business to be a family business. And when we hire people, that is what I tell them, because they are so awesome to us. They are so good about that, making it family oriented, that it's a pleasure to come and work for them. Now, we have our days, right? Everybody does. Yeah. But it's honestly just a pleasure to be a part of their family. They appreciate us. We appreciate them. And that's not by chance. That's because they've built this business that way, and they continue to. And so we really try to honor that and also multiply that in all the employees that we have here beyond just Jeff and I.
Yeah. And for the audience out there listening, Jeremy and Cindy aren't behind the camera either. They've just built this over the years, and now they're saying nice things even without them there.
Yeah.
Build the culture, and your team will talk like this.
Yeah,
talk like this about you as well. It definitely
is a culture. It definitely is a culture. And like I said, I don't know how big. We've had pains where we feel like we've grown from where we started to where we are. And it is a choice to continue to make that culture, because as you grow, that culture gets further and further away. And if you're not intentional about bringing that culture back in, it'll get away from you. You'll become corporate minded, or more corporate minded and less family culture minded. And so it's a choice to continue to keep it that way. It doesn't just happen. You got to really focus on, okay, now we feel like we're doing stuff that's just, what everybody else is doing. We need to get back to what Jeremy's Garage wants to do, how we want to handle it and run our business.
Yeah. And Jeff touched on, you've got to have somebody that's willing to do the hard work. And I think that it's beyond just that day-to-day that you guys have really come in and stepped in. You guys have done a lot of hard work on systems and processes over the last 9 years to be able to help grow the shop intentionally, to your point, Melissa. And I'm wondering, can you walk us through some of those decisions over the last couple of years that you're most proud of? And what was the shop like before those decisions? And what was the transition like after some of those decisions?
I think biggest thing for me would be the repair order process, just the flow of how we created how that repair order process goes. I think that was the biggest thing on production side as far as efficiency that we could have ever done, because we know exactly where that ticket needs to be at all times. So there's a transition and it just flows. So the guys can diag it. It goes to our lead service writer. Then it goes to sales. Then it goes to order parts. Then it gets parts received. Those guys stay in the bay. They do their job, and we take care of everything on the backside. So they diag it, they pull it out, they move on to the next one.
Yeah, that level of efficiency in a modern shop where so much is expected of techs, I feel like they've got to appreciate that that's one less thing that they have to do.
Absolutely. And the best part too is cars are complicated to work on. So they might write down, hey, it needs this. And we'll pull up the picture and go, holy crud, how many of those parts do we need? We'll print a diagram, take it to them and say, will you circle all the parts that you need to do this job? They'll circle it. We'll go back in, put it all in, get it sold. And they just get to keep working. They don't have to worry about any of that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Melissa, what about you on the HR payroll side, on your side of the world?
I think definitely our apprenticeship program is a big thing for us here. It definitely didn't start as successful as we had hoped it to. It was definitely, as Jeremy always teases when we talk about it, building the airplane in flight, because we learned a lot early on in our years. But we just knew, as an HR side of things, we just knew that there was a real lack of younger people wanting to be in the industry or being trained well enough to be in the industry. And I just knew there was enough knowledge and wealth in that knowledge here at this shop that we could probably do something about that we could probably start some sort of a program and bring in some apprentices. And we started with NAPA's apprenticeship program. That's where we started. But we just found after a while that there were some things that we had very specifically wanted here at Jeremy's Garage, that we started creating our own curriculum. So I sat down with these guys, I sat down with Jeremy, and I said, look, I want to create this program. I want to present it to the state. I want to become a state apprenticeship approved. But I need your help. I'm obviously not on that side of the garage. So I'm not going to create the curriculum. I'm going to do a lot of the typing of the curriculum, but I'm not going to create this curriculum. You guys are going to tell me what you think is important for a technician to have. In a 2-year span, what do you want them to know so that they can leave this program at least confident enough to do what they're going to be asked to do out on the garage floor? And so that was where we started. And also we had a heart for those kids that couldn't afford that traditional college path or that traditional community college path where they had all that bill for the schooling. And so our apprenticeship program offers them the training and the hands-on free of charge to them. We don't charge them anything for that piece. And we pay them to be here. We pay them so that they can have families and still do what they need to do as growing men or women who are in our program and become successful and not feel like they have to take a year off of work or a year off to do school or not make any money. They can come here and do both. And it really has benefited us in the fact that we obviously get the apprentice here. We get the extra person working underneath us, and we are So happy to say that we have one about to graduate. We just have a couple more things for him to do, and he will be graduated out of our program. It'll be our first. So we're so excited about that.
Congratulations.
And then we have one that just started they're finished their first year, and they'll be starting their second year. And the other thing that we did was we got a grant through the state for this program, and we brought in EV. So now on the tail end of this one that's in for just the first year, he will now get EV training on the end of that, which we're hoping to be one of the first shops in Pueblo West to offer any kind of just even automotive service for EVs, much less EV in our apprenticeship program. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible. I know we talk to a lot of shop owners with what we do for a living on this side of the world, and we hear people talk about apprenticeship programs all the time, and they're thinking about it. They're not sure. Some of them have started it. I'm very curious how you guys handle that sting of when somebody leaves after you've invested that much into them. That is,
yeah,
Ooh, it's tough.
We've been through
Many.
quite a few, and we've had some right out of the gate. They just, I can do this and make more money. We've had some get all the way almost to the end, and then they don't have the drive. It's like, this is what they really wanted to do. But then at the end, they're like, it's just a job to them. And this isn't just a job. You are working on people's vehicles. Like, you have got to have your heart into what you're doing. So it has been very hard. But the best thing about it that I've seen coming from the tire business, not being a mechanic, you could go to school, you could go to college, and you could get certificates and say, hey, I got all this, I can do this. No, you can't. You can have all the tests and all the paperwork in your hands, but until you actually get thrown under that hood, you can't do it. So the apprentice program is the best thing in the world because they get the school knowledge and they get the hands-on. They're being trained by a master technician. And if they are a sponge and absorb it, it's the best thing they can do. If you truly want to do, that's the best way to go as an apprenticeship.
Yeah, it's funny. We obsess. I've got young kids, and we obsess at this age about class size and what's the student to teacher ratio. And there are apprenticeship programs out there where it's literally 1-to-1. You've got a master tech teaching an apprentice. And I think that sometimes the apprentices don't realize how special of an opportunity that is. And I think to a certain extent, sometimes the master techs don't realize the level of responsibility and trust that's being placed in them to mold the next generation of good techs.
And the nice thing, like our master tech that's been here 7 years, that's how he got into it. He went under a senior technician, and that's how he was groomed, and that's how he became who he is today. So he understands part of that.
Yeah.
And the apprentice that's under him right now, he waited a year for that opportunity to come open at our shop.
Wow. Yeah. That's great. I'm really excited for you guys about to graduate that first apprentice.
Oh, we are.
Yeah.
When graduation day comes, you're going to have to let us know so we can celebrate with y'all.
Yeah, we're excited. It's just a great culmination of timing with this student and all our students. We've really invested into all our students, but when you really have one that invests at the same level that you've invested in with them and you get them to this point of graduation, it's pretty cool. It's pretty rewarding to see.
Yeah. So. And I want to take a chance before we wrap up, before we get to the end of the show, I want to give you both a chance with the microphone a little bit. And I know there's a lot of GMs and service managers and right-hand people listening to the show who aren't owners but carry a ton of that responsibility, and they're trying to learn right now too. What final thoughts or words of encouragement would you share with those people, not the owners but the right-hand people?
That's a tough question, and that's a hard answer because you got to be the right person. You got to know that you got to know if you can just do it. Like, you just got to take it and do it. And if you don't have that, it ain't going to work. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You might be on the right bus, but you might not be in the right seat. So just make sure you're on the right bus and on the right seat for whatever job you're doing. And I think too that if my advice would just be that if you can get an owner or a manager or whatever level is above you to believe in you, to continue to bring up those ideas. Sometimes it's hard, I think, in businesses, especially ones that have been running for whatever. They opened in 2008, right? So I obviously wasn't here in 2008, but I still come with them with my thoughts about here's things are running this way. This might be something they might want to consider. I think just having the confidence in yourself to bring up what you think might help, what system you might want to put into place or whatever, having the confidence to do that, and then having the grace and the understanding to know that's probably not going to be the end result of your thought process, but that if you come into it with, hey, I have this thought, I think this would be a great system we can put in place, but also realizing that they've got years of experience that they're going to add to that. And then that process is going to become a joint process, and still feeling the pride in being a part of that system, even though it turned out to be 3 or 4 different directions different than what you originally started with. You can still feel the pride that you were a part of that new system and that you're making this shop better. Because in the end, nobody wants to go to work for a place that you don't really want to be at. So if you continue to try to make it better by offering your input, then hopefully the management will see that. I prefer to have someone come to me with ideas every day than to never come to me with an idea. Because at least I know all the ideas that are coming to me, they're thinking about it. They're thinking about the business. They're thinking about how to make it better. They're thinking about what's not working in the shop and what could work better. So I'd rather hear a million of them until we find the right one than have that employee that just comes to work, clocks in, clocks out. So yeah. I think really sharing your thoughts is really important.
And it sounds like it's a really fine line, right? Between the confidence to share your thoughts, but also the emotional intelligence to check your ego at the door and be a part of the team that solves the problem rather than the hero that comes in and saves the day.
It's definitely, I think that the shop being run is always a team thing. We've had that opinion since the get-go, and we bonus as a shop. We bonus from the apprentice to the top level. Nobody gets more, nobody gets less. If the shop makes money, everybody gets to bonus. And that really shows that we appreciate whatever the apprentice is doing, because we couldn't do what we're doing without the apprenticeship doing what he's doing. And we also appreciate the management doing what they're doing, because we couldn't be doing what we were doing if the management wasn't working. So it truly is a whole system that makes the shop successful. And in the same way, the whole system that makes the shop unsuccessful sometimes too, and sometimes that needs to be fixed. But it is really just about communication. I think a lot of the communication has gone by the wayside. When people come to work, they don't feel like they can talk about whatever it is. And I just think the communication just needs to be open.
Yeah. So it's something we ask everybody that comes on the show. Obviously, we're really tied to the word honest with the Honest Garage podcast and Honest Mechanic Marketing, the company that we run. When you hear that phrase, honest mechanic or honest garage, honest shop owner, what does that mean for each of you? And how do you see that play out in the day-to-day within the shop?
Yeah, we see it with our customers every day. We get referrals every day. We get new customers every day. And it's because of that word, because we're honest. And I tell them, we're not perfect. Things happen, but we always stand behind what we do.
I believe it's the cornerstone for us here too. I think that we're honest sometimes to a fault, even when it comes to stuff, because sometimes we'll send people away. We will tell them this is something we just can't do here, and you need to probably look somewhere else. And that's hard to do when you're looking at just numbers. You're just thinking about people coming through the door and money coming in the cash register. But we're not the cheapest shop. We present everything we think needs to be fixed on your vehicle, and we're honest about what is important and what can wait. That's one good thing about our service writers is they will quote you or bring you in for what you came in for and then give you a list of recommendations, but they're not going to sell you anything you didn't come in for first. So we're going to take care of what you came in for. We want to be honest about that and then give you these things to think about. And if you want to come back, we would love to have you back. And if you can't, we understand that too. But we want you to know that we as a shop have seen these things that we take concern with, but we're going to fix the safety issues and the things you came in for. And then we're just honest about that. If you want to go somewhere else and get it done, I guess that's where you're going to go. We just really want to present ourselves as a shop that fixes what you've come in for and is not sales forward. We just want to be of service to our community.
Yeah, and we're not afraid to tell a customer your repairs are going to exceed what the value of the car is. You're probably best off looking for something new. Our job is to fix cars, but also give you advice the best we can. And at this point, you're probably better off getting a different vehicle than trying to repair this one.
Yeah. And I think that something that if you happen to be a customer out there and you're listening to this show, first of all, just get in the industry. You love it. We all do. But second of all, there are pre-purchase inspections out there for people. Take advantage of them. Bring your vehicle into the mechanic if you're a customer.
We preach that.
That's great, guys. I think that it's that level of trust, that level of transparency that you guys are bringing in Pueblo West that the industry needs. And I think it's shops like you guys and others that we've had on the show that are going to be a big help in changing the way that the general community sees this industry overall. I feel like we're winning their trust back a little bit at a time. So I really want to say huge thanks to both of you again for taking the time to be on the show. For everybody out there, Jeff Owen, Melissa Velasquez, what's the best way for people to connect with you if they enjoyed the conversation, if they want to go deeper than we had time to go in today's show? What's the best way that they can connect with each of you?
Just give us a call.
Yeah, we're kind of low tech around here. Yeah. I mean, we'll answer our emails and stuff, but we really prefer to conversate with people if we can.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the best way to reach you then is the shop phone number, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. Do either of you have that memorized?
Sure.
719-547-2450.
In coordinated effort, lockstep, just like it's been for the last 9 years. Fantastic, guys. If you're listening and you got value from the conversation, please share it with another shop owner so that they can get the same value. Subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Leave us a review. It helps us as much with the show as it does with you guys in the shop. It helps other people find us, and it helps really elevate this platform so that we can help more shop owners tell their stories. For more resources and real-world marketing advice, you can always reach out to us at honestmechanicmarketing.com. And really, thank you all for listening. Thanks again for being on the show. And as always, keep it honest in the garage.
And then the third store, I was actually looking for a location to move the Repairmasters building. And my realtor found this store, and they wanted me to buy that building and the store, but to do that, I would have had to fire all the people that were at that location because I needed to move my people in. And so I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to buy it and do that. And that's what I've actually used it with customers, explaining, like a customer will say, well, what about this guy's giving me this warranty, giving me, 10 years and 200,000 miles or something. And I'll tell them the warranty is only as good as the guy that backs it up. I could tell you, I give you a 1,000,000-mile warranty, but if I'm not there to back it up, or I don't, it doesn't mean anything.